Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6. Touchdown, Bobcat.
I feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness!
Brett Murdoch, pick 6. Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score.
And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there.
There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye.
Intercepted.
Tyree Skipper, touchdown! Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly!
Quarterback keeper showing off the speed, steps on the gas, untouched.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live. We are excited to kick off the 2025 college football season with you. And as always, we'll be bringing you G5 college football coverage that you love each and every week. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. I am Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. And tonight, we are joined by a special guest, Colton Pool from Hero Sports, to help us kick off the 2025 college football season. Welcome back, Justice, and thanks for joining us tonight, Colton.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be fun.
Yeah,
Can't wait. It's just been doing this Worker Bee series, and I'm different. This is a different intro. I'm used to. I've got this whole other verse just memorized, and I couldn't do that tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to get back. College football's here, less than 2 weeks. Week 0 starting off, and excited for another season of G5 Hive Live, so to speak. Colton, before we kind of jump into things, I want to kind of give you an opportunity to kind of tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and Hero Sports and what you guys do over there.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for the opportunity to be on here. I've been on Hero Sports. This will be season 3 for me now. Hero Sports has covered FCS football for a number of years. My colleague Sam Herder was kind of spearheading that. And then, a couple years ago, they wanted to expand into the group of 5. And then I kind of came into the equation. And now we sort of cover the sort of mid-major level of college football together. It's certainly I guess a subset of college football that is super fun to watch and seems to be more and more swept under the rug, we'll say, by the bigger national spotlights. So I love doing this. I love covering these teams, and like I said, it's fun. It's fun football, So that's a little bit about me.
All right, we got one more conference to go, Colton, Luke. So let's move over to the Sun Belt Conference. We're going to start with myself with the Sun Belt sleepers, dark horses, if you will. And for me, I'm going to pick South Alabama. Now, and some people say, well, they're not really a dark horse. I don't think they were until the spring portal happened. They lose their starting quarterback, Giovanni Lopez. He's off to North Carolina after the spring. And so I think a lot of people probably wrote them off after that happened. And for that, I think Bishop Davenport is a more than capable quarterback. We saw him at times a year ago. We saw him in the bowl game. And he, is he Gio Lopez? No, but I think he's a different quarterback, and he has different positives than Gio does. I think Bishop's a much better, passer than Gio. Maybe he doesn't necessarily offer, the dual threat. I think he has functional mobility. I do think he can run. I don't think he's the athlete that Gio Lopez is. But I do think they're not going to really miss a beat. They have Kentrell Bullock coming back at running back. You got Devin Vosen again at receiver, Anthony Eager at receiver. I think that South Alabama offense is not really going to miss a beat, despite losing their starting quarterback after spring practice. And so for them, for me, South Alabama is kind of my dark horse to win. And I know Luke's thinking that I'm going to pick another dark horse. To me, they're not a dark horse, so I'm not. I'll get to them in a little bit. All right, Colton, who's your dark horse in the Sun Belt?
Well, I'm curious if that mysterious dark horse you haven't mentioned yet is the one I'm going to bring up, but because there's a team that is a dark horse if you're looking at betting odds, but to me shouldn't be for the reasons I'll outline, and that's Southern Miss. You've got so many guys coming over from Marshall. You got Braylon Braxton and Coach Charles Huff, and it's not a clear 1-for-1. Everyone from Marshall is going to Southern Miss now, but there's a good amount of players and a few guys who will be on our preseason All-America teams. With the talent they got on that roster now, I think they're a dark horse, if only because they've struggled the last few years. But this is a completely different team now, so I think Southern Miss is gonna have to be the team, a team to watch, especially in the Sun Belt West.
That's not the team that I'm thinking of that I was referring to, but that's an awesome pick. Yeah, I agree. Like. They basically they didn't bring over the whole team, but they brought a lot over that Marshall roster over. And I did place some wagers on Southern Miss to win the Sun Belt West and to win the Sun Belt, because to your point, they're from a betting odds perspective, they're pretty far down there. And I feel like the West is probably more wide open than maybe folks think it is. And it wouldn't shock me at all if they make it to the Sun Belt Championship game at all. Luke, who you got?
Mine, my dark horse, Southern Miss, already laid out, but also their schedule fares pretty well. Something I just, after looking at all the schedules I've come across, I'm the schedule guy here. There's a lot of P4 teams going to visit G5 teams this year. You've got Iowa State goes to Arkansas State. You've got Mississippi State goes to Southern Miss. There's a lot of, but like out of all the teams that Southern Miss could play, like Mississippi State wasn't all that great last year. Mississippi State, their only game that they won last season was against Southeast Louisiana, I think. But every other game they got blown out. My other dark horse team is ODU. Bring back Colton Joseph. Probably going to have one of the best linebacking cores in all of college football, not just the G5. And I'm going to assume, Justice, that was the team that you were thinking about as your dark horse.
Absolutely. Like, for me, they're not a dark horse, but I think for the general public, they 100% are a dark horse. Yes,
that's the hard part. When you live in this world, it's like you think of a dark horse, and people are like, "Wow, that's a real dark horse," and you could have just said Boise State, and they'd be like, "Oh, not heard of Boise State." But yeah, so I would go Southern Miss for the reasons Colton laid out, and if I had to pick another one, ODU would be my pick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
gotta get past that James Madison game.
I feel like for us, like folks that know the G5, like we know the team so well that like when we think of dark horses, we're reaching like way deeper than the general public is, right? Because they don't know the teams as well as we do, and so a lot of times the ones we think are favorites are really the dark horses in terms of the betting odds and the general public, just because they don't know the teams like we do. So that's kind of the quandary for us, I guess, is trying to figure out like, do I have to reach this deep for that dark horse, or can I pick someone that maybe I even think's a favorite?
I mean, at the same time, they missed out on a bowl game last year, so I don't know. I think it qualifies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think it 100% qualifies. For me, like my expectations are so much higher that I don't necessarily view them as a dark horse. All right, let's move to our Sun Belt Conference Championship game and who's going to make it from the Sun Belt. All right, for me, like the easy one is to pick the East representative, and that's Old Dominion. This is by far the most talented team that Ricky Ronnie has had in his tenure at Old Dominion. You return not one quarterback, but two quarterbacks that I feel like could start for a lot of teams in the college football, in Colton Joseph and Quinn Hinnackel. A lot of folks are concerned about the wide receivers just because their leading returning wide receiver from a year ago, the top returner, had 2 catches in 2024. But this is the team that I probably know the best out of any G5 team. I have attended every spring media practice. I just went to practice today. I've attended every fall media practice, and so I've got to see this team up close and personal. And the wide receiver room does not concern me at all. It is in my opinion, the most talented and it has the most depth at wide receiver that this team has had since the days of Jonathan Duhart and Travis Fulgham. And those 2 guys were in the NFL. They also played a key part in beating Virginia Tech in Norfolk that year. But yeah, I mean, and then defense, man, like Luke kind of stole my thunder, but I've been pounding this mantra so often that it's become Luke's mantra now. And this is the best linebacking duo trio in the group of 5 between Jason Henderson. It's actually a quartet, I should say. Jason Henderson, Mario Thompson, Jaleel Colbreth, and then Koa. Koa was the guy that stepped in at middle linebacker a year ago when Jason Henderson kind of went down or didn't return after the South Carolina game while he was still recovering from his injury that he suffered in 2023. But man, like no doubt the best linebacking group in the group of 5, and I would tell you the top 5 in all of college football. The defensive backs are strong. If there's one thing that concerns me about their defense, it is the defensive line. It's not necessarily a concern from, hey, can they get it done? It's just the unknown, right? They lost a lot of key pieces, and I think the guys that they have are talented. We just haven't seen it in a game setting. So that's my easy pick for me for the Sun Belt championship game. For me, the West is so hard to pick. I feel like there's, 4 teams maybe that could win the West, but I'm gonna go with Arkansas State. I'm gonna go with them. They returned Jalen Rayner, Corey Rucker, one of the best wide receivers in all of the G5, all of college football. I think the defense is going to play better than they did a year ago. They get Javante Mackey back. He was a freshman All-American in 2023 there at Arkansas State at linebacker. He transferred to Memphis. He had an injury, sat out all of 2024. He's now back at Arkansas State. And so I think that offense and that defense is going to play well enough to propel the Arkansas State Red Wolves to the Sun Belt Championship game. All right, Colton, who you got in the Sun Belt Championship game?
Oh, you cut out there. Am I up?
Yep, you're up. Who you got in the Sun Belt Championship?
Yeah, you made such a strong case for Old Dominion. I want to change my mind now too. Sun Belt East. I'm gonna go, I guess, a little chalk pick here. James Madison. I think they've got some great players on both sides of the ball. We'll see, how healthy Alonzo Burnett will be. But if he can play most of the season, which it seems to be trending toward that direction, I think that offense has potential to be very good. I think George Pettaway is a fantastic running back, and he's going to be fun to watch in that division. And then out of the West, to your point, there's probably 4 teams where I wouldn't blame you if you picked them. But I'm going to stick with Southern Miss for all the reasons I outlined earlier. I think that Marshall team not only got to the Sun Belt Championship, but won pretty convincingly. And so, I mean, again, not everyone, not the exact same team, but I think Charles Huff, good coach, good on the field coach, and he'll do what do what needs to be done to put the team in position to succeed in a quick amount of time. So I'll go JMU versus Southern Miss in the Sun Belt.
All right. My championship game in the East is going to be Georgia Southern. I'm going to pick. They got a lot of guys coming back on the defense. You've got Josh Dallas there. You got that wide receiver quartet there that's going to be pretty good. JC French throwing the ball. But then this is me going through the schedule. And when you get to conference play, so you got to play. The thing that I liked most is, what does JMU look like? You got to go to JMU, but it's a week 1, 2, 3, 4. It's week 5. Have they figured it out? Is Alonzo Burnett healthy? Because if he doesn't start the season, then he comes in later. Are they still trying to figure some of that out? So part of that is that. And then the following week, you get Southern Miss at home. Are they still trying to figure it out? I just think the defense for Georgia Southern pretty good. But I mean, I think we can all safe to say that the Sun Belt is one of the toughest conferences in the G5. Whoever wins this will not be a G5 representative, even though they might deserve it, because it's kind of like the SEC of the G5. There's just so many good teams, top to bottom. Old Dominion at the end of the year. I like Georgia Southern. And then out of the West, I like South Alabama, just because it seems to be an easy path. Once you get into conference play, I mean, Coastal at North Texas, I guess North Texas isn't a conference game, but then you got at Troy, Arkansas State at home, at Georgia State, Louisiana comes to your place, at Louisiana Monroe, Southern Miss comes to your place, and then you go at Texas State. I just like the reasons that Justice had them as a dark horse. I like them to make those, coupled with the schedule. I think they have one of the easier schedules in all of the Sun Belt, so I'm going to go with South Alabama.
Well, before we get to our champion picks, I just wanted one team I wanted to mention. I'm a little slightly surprised that none of us picked them to win the West, is Texas State. I think they have one of the better defenses in the West. I think the big question marks for Texas State is quarterback, right? Is it Brad Jackson? Is it Luster, the recent transfer from LSU? They brought over some other guys. I think that's probably the reason why none of us picked them, is because of the unknown at quarterback. But kind of like Northern Illinois, it wouldn't shock me if they, their last season in the Sun Belt, that they don't win the Sun Belt West and kind of ride off into the sunset to join the Pac-12. But we'll see who wins that quarterback battle. And
I mean, if that happens, it's like, if NIU and Texas State both ride off with going to the championship game, then the Pac-12 looks like they're geniuses. Like, look at us, we picked like the best teams. So,
all right, let's get to our Sun Belt Conference champions, and for me, it's Old Dominion. The one thing I will add that I did not talk about earlier is I think, if ODU wins the Sun Belt, it's going to be because Colton Joseph has an amazing year. He has a John Mateer type season. John Mateer last year had an amazing year for Washington State, parlayed that into being the starting quarterback for Oklahoma in the SEC. And I think if Old Dominion has the type of year that I'm expecting, Colton Joseph is going to kind of do the same thing in 2025, have a John Mateer-like season, and who knows where that will lead him. But, yeah, I think my pick is Old Dominion to win the Sun Belt. All right, Colton, who you got?
John Mateer-like season. I like that. That he was a dude last year, so I like that. Yeah, I'm going with JMU. I think even though they had a few losses last year, all those games were pretty close. And I think second year under Bob Chesney, that program has been in position to compete for a Sun Belt title, and I think the stars aligned for the Dukes this year. So I'm going with JMU.
I'm going to go with Georgia Southern. Again, not that difficult of a schedule, but I think they'll be battle tested. You got Old Dominion, Southern Miss, James Madison. You got some good competition in there. Give me Georgia Southern this year. I probably feel the least confident out of the Sun Belt as to who would be the champion.
That's to your point, like that. And I would tell you, I think the Sun Belt is by far the best G5 conference, top to bottom. I've said it many times on our show that the Sun Belt East is kind of like the SEC, I guess, of the old days, right? When you had Alabama and Auburn, all together in the same division. I feel like that's kind of the Sun Belt East, if you will. But yeah, I mean, you said it best earlier, Luke, that the Sun Belt, the best G5 team might come from the Sun Belt, but because the Sun Belt's so good and they kind of cannibalize each other, it's very difficult for a Sun Belt team to kind of get that college football playoff berth.
Yeah, there's probably three teams that aren't true contenders going into the season. At this point, yeah, there's double-digit teams that I could see winning this thing. Real quick tangent for you guys. How do you guys feel about divisions?
I love it. I wish they should have never gone away, in my opinion. And I hope the Sun Belt never gets rid of them, because I just feel like it keeps the regional rivalries alive, right?
Same. Agreed.
And so I think for that, and obviously I'm an Old Dominion fan, Sun Belt fan, and so I like that the Sun Belt's the only conference that has it. And I hope they never get rid of them. But I think other conferences kind of, I mean, I understand why they did it, but I think from a fan's perspective, they did it for the wrong reasons.
Agreed on every front.
I go either way. So I like not having divisions because the best team will be the best team. The hardest part is then your schedules don't always match up. That's the hardest part of like, hey, this is going to be a tough draw this year versus that. The thing I like about having divisions is the strategic part of recruiting, because you're really recruiting to beat the other teams in the West or the other teams, like, because you're not really looking like you have to play them in the championship game. But if I can have the best people of the East or the best people of the West, it adds to this extra layer of recruiting that. So I guess from a strategic point, I like that. But I like, hey, just play everybody, and if my team's the best, we're gonna win. I don't care who we're playing. Any given Saturday, we're gonna win. The hard part is just the logistics of the schedule and making sure that it's a fair schedule all the way around. And with how many teams there are, it's impossible. Well,
no, great points.
What do you think? You asked us. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Justice. I think I think the rivalry part of it is lost when you get rid of divisions. That's really interesting on the recruiting. A great point on that. But yeah, I think while yes, it's kind of pros and cons on the scheduling, and there's enough teams that not everyone is going to play everyone, and so you want it to be, I guess, consistent at the very least. When you get divisions, you know the teams you're going to be playing, and when you're dealing with the conference championship, you're dealing with the best team from this division, the best team from that division, at least in theory. So, and you can decide it on the field from that point. So it's just interesting to me that the divisions just kind of keep going away, and then there's the Sun Belt that still has them. So yeah, I'm a fan on for multiple reasons.
I live in Iowa, so it's like Iowa's never going to make it a Big Ten championship game now that there are no divisions. Or you think about like the Rutgers and Maryland's and like those teams that like, oh, you had to play Penn State all the time and you had to play like, hey, you don't have to play them anymore. So I think some teams are happy that they're gone. So I think it also depends on your take there. Colton, we want to thank you for joining us tonight to help us kick off the 2025 college football season. Before we can go, can you tell our listeners where they can find you, Hero Sports, and maybe some things that you have coming up this season?
Yeah, you find all our stuff at Hero Sports News on X, Twitter, and then I'm at C Pool Reporter. Yeah, and then Hero Sports, where we have all our content. We are doing a preview on every single G5 team, as well as our other FCS content. And yeah, we've got our preseason All-America teams and top 25 coming out this week, and we'll have a top 25, which again you guys are partaking in, and thank you for that. And yeah, we're going to be writing all sorts of stuff. Game previews, some betting content, some features, analysis, you name it, we'll have it there. And yeah, like in true Group of Five fashion, starting the show late and ending it at least Eastern time, ending it the next day. So respect to you guys for doing this, and thank you for having me.
Well, Colton, absolutely, would love to have you back another time and do it again.
Absolutely.
It's our first live show of the kind of kicking off the 2025 season. We hope everyone has enjoyed the 2025 edition of our Worker Bee series, where we deep dive into every G5 college football team, bringing you the most comprehensive team previews available. But stay tuned, as we still have a few more of those episodes coming out over the next 2 weeks. Also, if you've not had a chance to check out our player interviews, we've done over 20 this offseason. Please do that, as we get to know a lot of very special young men who will be making big impacts on and off the field in 2025. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. On X, give us a follow. And if you're listening on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. We are so grateful for the immense amount of support we have received this year. We hit a couple big milestones since we last went live. We hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Let's go.
We got a shout out on the Solid Verbal for our Worker Bee series, and like none of that happens without you guys, without your support. So kudos to you guys. We sincerely thank each and every one of you. And with that, be sure to join us next week as we preview week 0 of the 2025 season. And we will talk about the Hero Sports G5 Top 25 preseason poll. We'll break down what the consensus was, what our differences were, and maybe who we have ranked, who didn't make it in the consensus and all that. So yeah, be sure to join us next Monday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And until then, we are the G5 Hive.